The Lazarus Project. Chapter 1, From the Ashes. The wind howled through the skeletal remains of skyscrapers, a mournful symphony echoing across the barren wasteland. Dust swirled, obscuring the sun's harsh glare and painting the sky in hues of orange and red. This was Earth, centuries after its fall. A Venu reconnaissance team picked their way through the debris, their sleek, segmented bodies moving with a disturbing grace. Each step sent up puffs of dust, the only sound in the oppressive silence of the ruined city. Anything? The lead Venu, Tsar, spoke in a series of clicks and whistles, his translator converting the sounds into a harsh mechanical voice. Negative, Commander, another Venu replied, its mandibles twitching in frustration. Only more of these ruins. Tsar surveyed the scene with his multifaceted eyes, his mind racing. Their homeworld, Venu, was dying, a slow, agonizing death by a fading star. They had searched countless systems for a new home, a beacon of hope in the vast, unforgiving universe. Earth, once a vibrant jewel, was now a graveyard. Suddenly, a sharp beep echoed from a scanner. The Venu froze, their antennae twitching in unison. Commander, a third Venu hissed, its voice laced with excitement. Subterranean anomaly detected. Metallic signature, large, possibly artificial. Tsar gestured for the team to follow, his segmented limbs moving with renewed purpose. They descended into the depths of the ruined city, their scanners guiding them towards the source of the anomaly. Deep beneath the rubble, they discovered a hidden bunker, its entrance concealed by layers of debris and overgrown vegetation. Inside, the air was stale and heavy, the only illumination coming from the Venu's bioluminescent markings. Their scanners pinged again, leading them to a massive cylindrical chamber. Inside the chamber, encased in a shimmering field of energy, lay a human figure. The Venu gathered around the chamber, their multifaceted eyes fixed on the dormant figure. Commander, a Venu scientist, Aris, whispered in awe. It's a human, in cryostasis. Tsar's mandibles clicked in anticipation. Could this be the Lazarus Project? He asked, referencing the ancient human legend of genetically enhanced super soldiers. Aris nodded. It would explain the advanced technology and the genetic markers. Revive her, Tsar commanded, his voice a harsh rasp. Perhaps this human holds the key to our survival. The Venu scientists went to work, their delicate claws manipulating the chamber's controls. The energy field flickered, then dissolved, revealing a woman encased in a translucent suit. Her features were sharp, her skin pale, and her eyes closed in a deep slumber. As the cryostasis chamber opened, the woman's eyes fluttered open. A jolt of electricity surged through her body, causing her to gasp. She looked around in confusion, her eyes wide with alarm. Where am I? She whispered, her voice raspy from disuse. Tsar stepped forward, his voice booming through the translator. Welcome to a new era, human. You have been chosen to serve the Venu. The woman's eyes narrowed, her confusion giving way to a cold, calculating stare. Serve? I don't think so, she said, her voice dripping with contempt. Eva Santos, the last of Earth's super soldiers, was awake. Chapter 2, A New World, A New Power. The Venu ship was a labyrinth of gleaming corridors and pulsing lights. Eva, clad in a simple tunic provided by Aris, the Venu scientist, moved cautiously through the alien vessel. Each step was a sensory overload, the air thick with unfamiliar scents, the walls humming with a low rhythmic thrum. Aris hovered beside her, his multifaceted eyes flickering with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Commander Santos, he clicked, this way to the observation deck. You will be able to see the progress we have made. Eva followed, her senses on high alert. She had spent the last few hours absorbing information from the Venu's databanks, their history, their technology, their ruthlessness. They were a dying race, their homeworld succumbing to a dying sun. Earth, with its resources and habitable environment, was their salvation, or rather their next conquest. The observation deck was a massive dome, offering a panoramic view of the surrounding starscape. But Eva's attention was drawn to the holographic display in the center of the room. It depicted a sprawling human settlement, its buildings crude and makeshift, its defenses pitifully inadequate. This is your next target? Eva asked, her voice laced with barely suppressed rage. Aris nodded. The humans are resilient, but they pose no threat to us. A wave of anger surged through Ava, a primal fury at the venue's arrogance. She clenched her fists, her genetically enhanced muscles coiling beneath her skin. As she did, a strange sensation washed over her, a tingling at the back of her skull. "What is this?" she whispered, her eyes widening. Images flashed through her mind, fragments of conversations, snippets of emotions. It was as if she was inside the minds of the venue crew, experiencing their thoughts and feelings firsthand. "I can hear them," Eva gasped. "I can feel their fear." Aris tilted his head, his antennae twitching. "Commander Santos, are you unwell?" Eva shook her head, a grim smile spreading across her face. "No, Aris, I'm better than ever." She realized then that her cryo-sleep had not just preserved her, it had amplified her latent psionic abilities. She could now not only read the venue's minds, but also influence their thoughts and emotions. "The humans are weak," Zar, the venue high commander, declared, his voice booming through the ship's intercom. "We will crush their resistance and claim this world as our own." Eva's eyes narrowed. "Not if I have anything to say about it," she whispered, her voice filled with a newfound resolve. She would not let these aliens enslave her people again. Later that day, Eva stood before the assembled venue troops, clad in a sleek black combat suit. Zar addressed the troops, his voice filled with arrogance and disdain for the primitive humans. Eva listened, her mind racing as she planned her next move. When Zar finished his speech, he gestured towards Eva. "This human, Commander Santos, will lead our assault. She is a weapon of unparalleled power, a gift from our ancestors." Eva stepped forward, her expression a mask of obedience. But beneath the surface, her mind seethed with defiance. She would play their game for now, but when the time was right, she would turn their weapon against them. The humans would not fall again. Not on her watch. Chapter 3. The Spark of Rebellion. The venue landing craft descended on the human settlement like a swarm of locusts, their sleek hulls glinting in the harsh sunlight. Eva stood at the forefront of the assault, her face a mask of cold determination. Inside, however, her heart pounded with a mixture of dread and fury. Zar's voice crackled in her helmet. "Commander Santos, initiate pacification protocols." The order chilled Eva to the bone. She knew what pacification meant. The venue had no qualms about eliminating any perceived threat, and the humans, in their eyes, were nothing more than pests to be exterminated. As the landing craft touched down, Eva marched forward, her squad of venue warriors flanking her. The sight that greeted them was one of abject poverty and desperation. Ragged humans huddled in makeshift shelters, their eyes wide with fear as they watched the aliens approach. A young girl, no more than 10 years old, stumbled out from behind a pile of rubble, her arms outstretched. "Please," she whimpered, "don't hurt us." The venue warriors raised their weapons, their mandibles clicking in anticipation. Eva felt a surge of nausea, a visceral reaction to their cold-blooded cruelty. She had seen war before, but this was something else. "Stop!" Eva's voice boomed through the translator, the unexpected command causing the venue warriors to hesitate. Zar's voice crackled in her helmet again, laced with irritation. "Commander Santos, explain yourself." Eva took a deep breath, her mind racing as she searched for the right words. "These humans, they pose no threat," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "They are simply trying to survive." A ripple of confusion spread through the venue ranks. Zar's silence was deafening. Eva seized the opportunity, her voice rising in pitch. "We are the invaders here, the oppressors. We have no right to inflict harm on these innocent people." As she spoke, Eva reached out with her mind, her psionic powers surging like a tidal wave. She touched the minds of the venue warriors, planting seeds of doubt and unease. She showed them images of their own families, their own loved ones, and asked them to imagine them in the human's place. A murmur of dissent spread through the venue ranks. Some lowered their weapons, their eyes filled with uncertainty. Others looked to Zar, their loyalty wavering. Zar's voice, when it finally came, was laced with anger and suspicion. "Commander Santos, you are treading on dangerous ground. Obey your orders." Eva smiled coldly. "I obey only my conscience, Commander," she replied, her voice ringing with newfound confidence. "And my conscience tells me that this slaughter is wrong. With that, she turned and walked away from the venue troops, her back straight, her head held high. She could feel their confusion and anger, but she also sensed a flicker of something else. Doubt. One by one, the venue warriors lowered their weapons, following Ava's lead. They had been conditioned to obey, but deep down they knew she was right. The humans were not the enemy. The girl who had pleaded for mercy ran towards Ava, tears streaming down her face. Ava knelt down and embraced her, a surge of warmth flooding her heart. This was what she had been fighting for. This was why she had been awakened. The humans, seeing the venue standing down, began to emerge from their hiding places, their eyes filled with cautious hope. Eva raised her hand in a gesture of peace, and a cheer erupted from the crowd. The spark of rebellion had been lit. Chapter 4. The Psionic Warrior. Eva's head throbbed, a constant gnawing ache that pulsed in time with the flickering lights of the cavern. She squeezed her eyes shut, her hands clutching at her temples. Her psionic abilities, once a source of strength, were now a torment. Each surge of power left her drained and disoriented, the whispers of 1,000 Venu minds echoing in her head. "Commander!" A voice broke through the fog of pain. It was Anya, a young woman with fierce eyes and a scar that ran across her cheek. "The others are waiting." Ava took a deep breath, pushing the pain down. She couldn't let it control her. Not now. Not when her people needed her. She followed Anya through the labyrinthine tunnels of the old mine, their makeshift base of operations. Humans of all shapes and sizes were gathered in the central chamber, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and defiance. "My friends," Eva began, her voice echoing through the chamber, "the Venu believe us to be weak, broken. They see us as nothing more than pests to be exterminated." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Eva could feel their anger and desperation, their thirst for vengeance. "But we are not weak, Eva continued, her voice rising. "We are the descendants of survivors, the inheritors of a legacy of resilience. We will not let these aliens extinguish our spirit." Her words were met with cheers and applause. Eva felt a surge of hope, a spark of defiance igniting within her. She would not let these people down. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of training and preparation. Eva taught the humans guerrilla tactics, the art of hit-and-run warfare. She showed them how to use scavenged Venu technology against their creators, how to disrupt their communications and sabotage their infrastructure. But most importantly, she taught them to believe in themselves, to tap into their own latent strength. She used her psionic abilities to amplify their courage, to instill in them a sense of unity and purpose. One night, as Eva sat alone in the command center, a wave of pain washed over her, stronger than ever before. She cried out, clutching her head as images flashed through her mind. Venu soldiers, their faces twisted in rage, their weapons trained on the human stronghold. "They're coming," Eva whispered, her voice hoarse. "They're coming for us." The news spread like wildfire through the base. Fear gripped the humans, but it was quickly replaced by a steely determination. They had been preparing for this, training for this. They would not go down without a fight. Eva stood before the assembled troops, her face pale but resolute. "This is our moment," she said, her voice ringing with a strange calm. "This is our chance to show the Venu what we are truly made of." The humans roared their approval, their voices echoing through the tunnels. They were ready. They were united. They were strong. As the first Venu landing craft appeared on the horizon, a wave of psionic energy washed over the battlefield, a silent scream of defiance that echoed across the wasteland. The battle for Earth had begun. Chapter 5. A Desperate Gambit. The rumble of approaching Venu aircraft shook the cavern walls, the vibrations rippling through the gathered humans like a wave of dread. Eva stood before them, her face drawn, the flickering lights casting long shadows across her gaunt features. "We are outnumbered," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Outgunned." A hush fell over the crowd, the only sound the crackling of the radio as the Venu issued their ultimatum: surrender or be annihilated. A grizzled old man, a former engineer named Silas, stepped forward. "We've faced worse odds, Commander," he said, his voice gruff but steady. "We've been through hell and we've come out the other side. We won't give up now. Eva nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. Silas was right. They had endured too much to surrender now. "We fight," she declared, her voice ringing with newfound determination. "We fight for our home, for our freedom, for our future." The humans roared their approval, their voices echoing through the cavern. Eva could feel their resolve, their unwavering spirit. It was a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. As the Venu forces closed in, Eva laid out her plan. It was a desperate gamble, a long shot, but it was their only chance. "I will infiltrate the command ship," she said, her voice barely audible over the din of the approaching aircraft. "I will use my powers to disable their defenses and expose Tsar's lies." Anya, her loyal second-in-command, grabbed her arm. "Commander, it's too dangerous. They'll kill you." Eva smiled sadly. "It's a risk I have to take," she replied, squeezing Anya's hand. "If I fail, you must lead our people to victory." With a final nod, Eva slipped into the shadows, her black combat suit blending seamlessly with the darkness. She moved silently through the tunnels, her psionic senses guiding her towards the Venu command ship. As she approached the ship, she could feel Tsar's presence, a cold, calculating mind that radiated power and malice. Eva steeled herself, drawing on the strength of her people, the memory of their suffering. Using her powers, she bypassed the ship's security systems, slipping through the Venu ranks like a ghost. She found Tsar in the command center, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the holographic display of the unfolding battle. "Tsar," Eva said, her voice amplified by her psionic abilities, echoing through the command center. Tsar turned, his eyes widening in surprise. "Santos, how did you—" "I have come to end this," Eva said, her voice dripping with contempt. "To expose your lies and free my people." Tsar snarled, his mandibles clicking in anger. "You are a traitor, human. You will pay for your defiance." The air crackled with tension as the two adversaries locked eyes. A silent battle of wills ensued, their minds clashing in a maelstrom of psionic energy. Eva delved into Tsar's mind, peeling back the layers of arrogance and ruthlessness, exposing his deepest fears and insecurities. She showed him visions of the Venu's dying planet, their failed attempts at conquest, their desperation. Tsar's resolve crumbled, his mental defenses shattered. He slumped in his chair, his eyes wide with terror. "No, it can't be," he whimpered, his voice barely audible. "We were meant to rule." Eva stepped forward, her voice ringing with triumph. "Your reign of terror is over, Tsar," she declared. "Humanity will rise again." With a final surge of psionic power, Eva shattered Tsar's mind, his body collapsing in a lifeless heap. A wave of relief washed over her, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of foreboding. The battle was far from over. Chapter 6, A New Dawn. A wave of jubilation washed over the human stronghold. Cheers and laughter echoed through the tunnels as news of Tsar's defeat spread. Fires crackled, casting dancing shadows on the faces of the weary but triumphant survivors. Eva stood on a makeshift stage, a repurposed crate, her gaze sweeping over the assembled crowd. The faces looking back at her were etched with joy and relief, but also with a newfound hope, a glimmer of something brighter on the horizon. "We did it!" she shouted, her voice hoarse but amplified by her psionic abilities. "We fought, we bled, we sacrificed, but we did not break. We proved that humanity is not so easily extinguished." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices blending into a symphony of triumph. Eva smiled, a genuine warmth spreading through her, despite the lingering pain in her head. She had fulfilled her mission. She had protected humanity. But the victory was bittersweet. The cost had been immense. So many lives lost, so much destruction wrought. As the celebrations died down, a heavy silence settled over the crowd, a shared grief for what had been lost. Eva stepped down from the stage, her footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. She found Aris waiting for her, his multifaceted eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and admiration. "You did it, Commander," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You saved your people." Eva nodded, her smile fading. "But at what cost, Aris? So many lives lost, so much destruction." Aris placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "It was not in vain, Eva. You showed the Venu the true meaning of courage, of sacrifice. You gave humanity hope." Eva looked into Aris's eyes, seeing a kindred spirit, a fellow being who understood the pain of loss and the burden of responsibility. "What now?" she asked, her voice heavy with weariness. "We rebuild," Eris replied, his voice filled with determination. "We heal, we learn, we grow, we forge a new path for our people." Ava nodded, a spark of hope rekindling in her heart. She looked out at the crowd, at the faces of the survivors. They were tired, scarred, but unbroken. They were the future of humanity. In the weeks that followed, the humans set about the arduous task of rebuilding their shattered world. They salvaged Venu technology, repurposing it for their own needs. They planted crops, constructed shelters, and established a rudimentary system of governance. Ava, meanwhile, used her psionic abilities to heal the wounded and comfort the grieving. She helped the humans reconnect with their lost history, reminding them of their ancestors' courage and ingenuity. She also reached out to other human settlements, using her powers to establish a network of communication and cooperation. As time passed, the human settlements began to thrive. New cities rose from the ashes of the old, powered by Venu technology and fueled by human ingenuity. A new generation of children was born, raised on stories of Ava's heroism and the resilience of their people. Ava watched over them with pride and love, her psionic abilities now under control, a source of healing and unity rather than destruction. She had found a new purpose, a new mission, to guide humanity towards a brighter future. One day, as Ava stood on a hill overlooking the bustling city below, Aris joined her. They watched in silence as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in a kaleidoscope of colors. "It's beautiful," Aris said, his voice filled with wonder. Ava smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Yes," she replied, "it is, and it's ours."